Hello and welcome to Sim.bc, where right now it's 2:15 in the morning. I don't understand. Why do I do this to myself? It's not worth it, is it? No, but hi. Today is Midsummer's Eve in Sweden. Woohoo! 2 thumbs fresh. I'm dropping down everything I have in my apartment and knocking everything down. That is why I'm going up so early in the morning to record this. No, obviously not. I've been working. It's just the nature of things, you know. I have that kind of life now, doing honest work each and every day. Yeah, kind of a man's man, if I do say so myself. No, but before we get into what I'm actually going to talk about today, which is kind of 2 things. Well, interchangeably. I would like to start off saying that thank you yet again for yesterday's video. Passing 300 videos yet again. For someone who didn't think they were going to make it past 5, and I know I've reiterated that point often now, but that's just because I really bloody didn't think I would. It's huge, right? But obviously, link to yesterday's video if you want to go and watch that. But yeah, 300 odd videos in. Feels kind of good, feels kind of great, feels kind of amazing. Anyway, what I want to talk about today is, as I say, kind of twofold. Now, the first thing is Midsummer's Eve. What is Midsummer? It's just basically, as far as I understand, we're raising kind of a pole here in Sweden and dance around it like frogs. And then we get ourselves smashed beyond belief. We eat the regular things we eat every other holiday, which is basically some fish, some fermented fish with potatoes and, you know, meatballs, Swedish meatballs. And that's basically that entire holiday. Now, I didn't want to designate an entire video for it because I do not care for it that much myself. Generally, just sum it up, we eat the same stuff as we do it every holiday, the sun is up for a bit longer, and people generally go out to be absolutely smashed and shit-faced, just like any other weekend in Sweden, since this happens to occur on a Friday, Saturday deal, so to say. Now, I've left my opinions about this entire idea of getting wasted during the weekend for I think it was video 299 actually, the social convention as of why. You know, with my interpretation of clubbing and alcohol and drugs and all of that. I know, it's not a controversial video at all. I highly recommend you go watch it. Yeah. Anyway, the second kind of point that I want to take up, and what I thought was going to be the meat and potatoes of this video, which probably will not turn out to be that meaty after all when I'm thinking about it and when I'm considering it, is that after doing all the 300 videos, you know, give or take a few, because I've done some that are not on the daily upload schedule, I've come to realize that there are many things when I write things down for a script, when I write things down for a note, when I wrote in school for that matter as well, and when I talk, I tend to open with kind of a sentence that doesn't really say anything, yeah? And this is a tip that I'm going to delegate to you. Now, many people are afraid of standing on stage, and many people have a really hard time on actually getting going when they're supposed to actually write something down, which is understandable because it isn't easy. Now, I have a really easy time doing this, and that's just good for me, I guess, right? But that ain't gonna help you out there. So I thought, why not give a concrete and tangible example of what you can actually do in order to improve this process and make it easier for you out there. And what I would recommend you to do is that if you stand on stage, you say something. It doesn't really matter what you say. And this is based on my experience, right? I might have an inclination of, you know, liking to be in the center of things, and that this might just be a tips that works for me, but I'm gonna share it anyway with you so that you have the possibility to take part of the process that I do. Now, I tend to do things that if I'm very nervous, for instance, when I was doing my defense of my thesis, I could almost puke before I went into the seminar. I was that stressed about it. Even though I had reviewed other ones and I had attended other ones, and I saw like, well, it isn't really that hard. I mean, sure, it's hard, you need to defend your work, but I know all of those things. I know how to defend my work. It was just the, building up to the moment. I was really stressed. I had all of these butterflies that just wanted to burst out of my stomach, and I was going around, just being miserable. I had the vertigo and everything, right? But that's all faded once we sat down and I actually started speaking, because most often than not, that's the only thing that you need to do. You need to break the silence. You need to break that, what should we say, the envelope of things. You need to be the one that talks. You need to actually say bloody something, and it doesn't really matter what you say. The importance of saying something in this context, well, obviously you can't just throw anything out. You can't just be like, oh, bloody twats, them people on the east side, am I right? Whoa. And people in your meeting is going to be like, what did you say? Obviously it needs to be kind of semi-related, or just something nice, like, well, it's nice weather, or I'm usually going for thank you all. I would like to start with thank you all for being here on the behalf of me and my group, me and my team. Thank you for taking your time out of your busy schedule and attending this. Whatever it is, right? And that's a good way of starting, because then you've actually introduced something, you've said something, and after you've said something, in my experience, the tension tends to lift. The butterflies tend to scatter, right, in your stomach, and it just becomes so natural and so easy, because what you do then is that, well, I've actually talked. I'm on stage, I'm doing it, I'm in the moment, yeah? And now I can focus. Now I'm not able to focus on, oh, all the things that can go wrong, wonder what's gonna happen now, because now I've started it. Now I'm living the moment. Now I can care about all of these things once I stand off stage, when I go off stage. But all up until that point, from when I say the first words to when I say the last words, I'm in it. And the reason why I'm in it is because I'm saying hello and thank you all for being here. And the second thing I'm gonna do is rolling straight into what I practiced about, yeah? Now obviously these videos are a bit different because they're all raw material. I'm not really following a script here. So for me here, it's an entirely different experience, but sure, I'm not talking in front of a crowd, so I need to apply different techniques. But I would totally highly recommend that you just have a throwaway sentence at the beginning of every paragraph, because as I said, over the odd 300 odd videos I made, that's something that I do, especially when I'm stuck and I don't really know where to go. I start off by saying something just to lead me into talk, yeah, lead me into an actual discussion, because if you open up with something, you can play on that in the future. You can continue on that statement. For instance, if I say thank you all for being here, then the logical reason to, well, follow up with that is that what are you attending? Well, you're attending this video. And what is this video about? Well, oh, this video is going to be about the first sentence in every paragraph. Now, why is that important to notice? And why is that important to remember? So on and so forth. And then when you've gone through that, maybe you have a 2 or 3 or 4 mental notes, so to say, a few key points that you want to target. And then you kind of connect all of these as you go through, and you you throw back, because you don't have a physical script that you follow, so that you're able to actually anchor things in the things that you've said before much more easy than if you had a physical script, because if you had a physical script, you need to remember all of these things, all of those things, and improvising wouldn't be as great of a thing. Now, once you've done that, you can reconnect to the next thing. Now, why have I been telling you all of these things? Yeah, why is this important for you? So this first sentence is not as much about being the thing that derives and explains your entire, or rather, and judges and immerses everyone. It's just about you getting to a place where you can actually hyper focus on what you're supposed to do, what you're actually there to do. Now, the difference between someone that's really good at speaking and someone that's really bad, I would argue, is that they can actually use that sentence, that first sentence, as a throwaway sentence for themselves, simultaneously as they're capturing the attention, creating a bit of an intrigue for the listener. Now, that's something that I need to practice on, and I think that everyone, mostly, like in general, everyone needs to practice on that, because it's something that's really hard. It's really an art to it, to those first, what you would say, 5 to 15 seconds of presenting, when you need to capture people's interest simultaneously as you need to kind of deflect the stress that you have for standing on stage. And obviously everyone has a bit of a stress standing on stage, because if you do not, then you probably don't care as much about the outcome. That is very judgmental, generalistic, and strange, but I would say in general, especially in my situation, I'm always really stressed, no matter if I believe that I can make it or not, but I'm still really happy about going up, because I know I will do a great job, or I know that we will probably do a great job, because I know the things I'm going to talk about, right? But it's just about, getting over that stress and that initial, what can we say, introduction, both for yourself and the people around you. So as I said, get going, get started talking. It's just about, that first throwaway sentence. And as I said, you can probably take that sentence out from each and every one of my, essays, all of my presentations in school. You can just take that out and the content would be exactly the same. Yeah, it will be exactly the same because I'm using this first sentence in order to get into the, as I said, the meat and potatoes of what I actually want to discuss. Yeah, so I'm throwing all of these things out in order to just debunk the stress for me so that I can actually focus on the things that I know that I know. Sounds strange, but I do know what I know, right? There's no other way around that. So I would highly recommend you to do that. Now, this is something that can be translated into writing as well because, as I said, most people have a really hard time getting going when they're supposed to write something because they do not know where they're gonna start. I had the exact same problem, believe it or not. For someone who talks as much as I do, it's yet again what I just said. It's all about getting started on that direction, getting there, yeah? And you won't get there unless you start. So do not care, and I'm just gonna say, especially when you're writing something, you have the opportunity to go back and change it. So when it's about writing something, it's all about making that initial sentence. And as I said, the sentence can be a throwaway sentence. It could be just you be saying, like, explaining to yourself that, hi, now I'm going to start this essay, and you write that, full stop. This essay is going to be about full stop, and this essay is focusing on full stop, and then you will feel like you're naturally getting into it, because if you're explaining it to yourself, then you will realize that after a while you're actually presenting the text that you were supposed to write to begin with. And you're in it. It's like magic. It's the best thing ever. And some people might say, well, that's just writing and writing and writing and writing and writing until you get on track. And to some degree, and to some extent, yes, it is. But it's just that initial part that usually is the problem for me. Getting going with actually writing something. Getting going with actually talking about something. And as I said, the luxury that you do have when you're writing something is that you can go back and bloody change that sentence. That sentence that in general would be a throwaway sentence, you can either just delete it and go straight into the action, because that tends to happen, especially at, I was going to say especially at, but that's obviously wrong, but I would say even at a university level, when we were, peer reviewing each other's theses, I could see that, well, the first sentence in this paragraph doesn't really say anything. But I kind of understand why you've written it, because the next sentence kind of follows the ideas of the first sentence, but they're still standalone. They could have been introduced in this sentence alone. They are introduced again because you kind of restated them for yourself again. So this entire sentence could be cut, and we could be talking a pretty long, substantial paragraph or sentence here. We can be talking like 3 or 4 rows in Word or in Pages or whatever that you can just delete. And to some people that might sound like, what? No, deleting words, that's not the way of doing it. We're trying to reach the word limit. And if you're that kind of person, then just be grateful for all the words that you can make. But I would still argue that you're trying to apply this technique. And this technique would probably be even more valuable to you, because you will be just writing things to and for yourself, and then get going, and then you will quickly realize that, oh, I'm actually over the word limit already. Now I need to compress all the information. At least that's the goal, right? And for the rest of you who do not do that, or rather who has the opposite problem like me, who's getting to the word limit, and you're like, oh, wow, I'm at the top limit here, the upper half plus the 10% that they were saying was okay. What am I going to do now? Now is the time for you to kind of revise everything you've done up until this point and take away the first sentence. Just revise the first sentence of each and every paragraph, because I promise you there will be things there that you've used just to get your fire going, just to get your motor going, just to get the flow going, that you now can take away in retrospect, because it doesn't really add anything. Anyway, mates, that's it for me for today, for the Midsummer's Eve. I'm going to, well, for the one day I do not work in the week, it's actually 2 days, but tomorrow I'm going to do laundry and stuff. Yeah, you do sound fresh. I'm gonna travel halfway across the country and back on one day to meet some of my family. Yeah, it's gonna be the best thing ever. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be amazing. Yeah, I can argue that I would have much rather just stay at home and slept, but it's your family. You do not know how long some of your family, especially the older relatives, are going to stay around. It's a very sad way of looking at it, but obviously it's true, right? Some of the people you don't know if it's going to be the last time you meet them, so you should take the time and actually go meet them. And that's what I'm going to do. Even though my personal comfort will be challenged, so to say, I would like to argue that the experience of meeting these people, if it's for the last time, it's going to be more worth it than my personal convenience of just staying in bed for an extra day, which I can do any day of the week, except that I'm probably working and then doing this. Anyway, mates, have a nice one. And as I said, after 300 odd videos, I'm happy that we're still going. This shirt, obviously, in every 50th video or so. And yeah, take away, just rather review that sentence. Yeah, gonna make a lot of sense for you. Have a nice one, mates. See you.